Hello, and welcome to the Artist Appeals. I'm your host, Erin Spurler, and today we're going to be speaking with a gentleman who helped found a software company. Now, you may be saying, "Hey, Erin, the Artist Appeals is about the business of art and how to make money with your art and how to have a career and what's software got to do with that?" Well, this gentleman and his co founder started one of, if not the first cloud based art archive software. What does that mean? It means it helps you store all your artwork up in the cloud and all the information about it, as well as high res images, low res images, all the documents you need, who your collectors are. It saves everything so that if you have a computer crash, if you lose your hard drive, you don't lose all your artwork, because that would be horrible, right? And it happens. I used to tell my students it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Computers do die. Started in 2010, they have people, artists and creatives, in over 120 different companies now using their software. It does everything in one centralized location. So today we're not only going to get a tour of the software and see how to use it, but we're also going to get two special offers. These guys are really trying to help artists be professional and make a living from their arts. And to that effect, they heard that with COVID, over 50% of artists said that they had lost 50% of their income due to COVID. They couldn't go to craft fairs, they couldn't go to this, they couldn't go to that. So I'm going to tell you right up front, they have an amazing offer coming up. Listen through to the middle for the details. But in just a little while, they're going to be having a competition, a grant, where they give $20,000 to 20 artists. They're going to give 20 artists $1,000 to use any way you want. There's no stipulations. You don't have to use it for this or that or the other thing. It is essentially free money. Wouldn't it be nice to get $1,000? And they're going to give that to 20 people. 20, 2-0. Can you see that? Anyways, listen through for that offer in the middle and an offer at the end. So we're going to check out the software. It does it all for you, backs up your archive, and if you want to leave a legacy, you've got to be organized, right? You've got to know where your artwork is, and if you want to be a professional, you've got to be organized. If you just want to make a living, then let's face it, we've got to be organized. So please allow me to welcome one of the co-founders of Artwork Archive, Justin Anthony. Hello, it's so
Hello.
good to see you. Welcome,
You as well.
welcome.
Thank you.
So you are one of the founders of Artwork Archive, are you not?
That is correct.
How did you come up with this idea?
I'm afraid I can't take credit for it. My business partner, John, his mother was actually an oil painter, and she had lost a hard drive, and as a result, lost years and years and years of work that she had captured on her computer. Went to her son, who is an absolutely sensational programmer, and asked if he was open to creating a solution so that this never happened to her again. And when John looked at the solutions that were available, all of them at the time, and this is over a decade ago, were basically repurposed spreadsheets or incredibly expensive or overcomplicated software that was really cumbersome. Also, the major downfall then was every product available was download only, meaning if you lost a hard drive and you didn't back it up, everything was lost. You could only access it from that one device. You couldn't easily share or access it on mobile or anything like that. So none of the things that were available really suited the needs of a modern day artist. So John spent time initially building this specifically to suit the needs of his mother. And then when he and I hooked up on this, um, I was connected with a number of artists and collectors myself. And we just started basically sitting with artists, initially here in the Denver area, and then artists around the world, asking, what can we do to improve this? So 99% of the product, what was born out of something that was scratching the itch for his mother became something that was really built by, built by artists for artists. And
That
that's
is
why
the
it is so
best
custom tailored.
kind of product. And I actually know that you guys have been around for over a decade because I did a blog post about you guys
Huh.
10, 15 years ago when you started.
Oh, wow.
When I was still teaching, I was reviewing artist softwares, and you had just started. And I think I talked to you or John back then. I'm
Gosh.
sure you guys don't remember,
We've
but
we've evolved a little bit. I'd like to think we've evolved
yeah,
a
yeah.
bit in the last decade.
Hey, Justin, do you have blinds on your door behind you?
I don't, which is why
Okay.
this is such an obnoxious back window. And I understand I look like I'm in some kind of underground prison. But this is,
Well, you're a techie. That's to be expected.
yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I can extract the audio and we can do just audio too. But the cool thing about this is we can do some screen sharing. So if
Oh,
you
got it.
wanted to show us um, your software and how it works, we could do that as well. So
Sure.
maybe we can get to that in a little while. So
Okay.
you guys invented essentially a software that archives artwork. It's funny. I was talking to Maggie Taylor earlier today. I interviewed her for the podcast, and we talked about how do you it came up. How do you back up things? I mean, she has been an artist for, oh, we didn't get into the numbers, but we were talking about how she has prints. And because she's a digital artist, she makes limited edition prints that
Sure.
she sells at galleries worldwide. And she has representation in New York. She has books. She has 6 books. Um, she runs workshops. And I was asking her, how do you track all this? How do you know where the prints are?
Sure.
And, she's still doing it manually because she's of that other older generation and she's been doing it for years, but she keeps a book with this is a thumbnail of the print, this is the name, this is the file name, these are the versions, this is the way I printed it, and these are the limited editions and where they are.
Sure.
So each
Yeah,
one.
we run into that. We run into that quite a bit. I would say if you looked across our client base, 30%, a third of them are emerging, a third of them are mid-career, and a third of them are, late end stage, or, really significantly established, prominent
Mhm.
artist. And the one thing we hear from the Maggies of the world is, oh my God, I wish I started this earlier. And part of that is driven from the just an easier way, even if they're not tech savvy. I mean, our beta testing group is between the ages of 60 and 80, because ease of use is something we prioritize over everything else. And particularly we focus on people that don't have a lot of tech experience. So what we hear from those people that are in that situation that are coming from card catalogs or books or a manual is, wow, it's so daunting. I wish I would have started earlier. And that's both from an organizational standpoint, but also as you near the end of your career, you want your work to live long after you're gone. So
Right.
part of the name Artwork Archive came from this concept of creating a living legacy, of your work that's going to endure, long after you pass. And so we
Yeah.
have an equal amount of people that are coming to us just starting, saying, provide me with the tools I need to succeed, as we do with people later stage saying, I really want to capture what I've created, who I've worked with, just the history of my art legacy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, we get that in equal measure.
So, how does it work? Your software is a catalog for essentially tracking art production, art sales. What all does it do?
I would say at our core, our focus is to provide artists with the tools they need to make a living doing what they love. So we are kind of unapologetically focused on the unsexy. We are not existing to, you know, help people be more creative, although we do talk about that some from a content standpoint. But when you look at the platform, it is purely focused on helping you get organized, and that comes in the form of organizing your inventory, full
Mm-hmm.
contact management, locations, where is anything,
Mm-hmm.
um, to your professional documents, sales, expenses, basically anything business related to your art career. We help you organize that. And then from a management and presentation standpoint, we also have a wide variety of tools that help you showcase your work and share who you are as an artist. So,
Oh.
that's kind of a fringe benefit to the site. Those organization and management tools really help you become a business professional. And then the reports and presentations and private rooms and gallery views, those either help you integrate with your existing website, help create private exhibition rooms for potential clients, maybe a sneak peek at a show. You can generate tear sheets and inventory reports and wall labels and QR codes and anything we can do to help get the artist organized, save them time, or get their work in front of the people they're going after. That's what we're into. We have no desire to be, the next online gallery or, a newsletter service like a MailChimp or whatever. We very
Mm-hmm.
much stay in our lane
Uh-huh.
as business tools for artists.
I don't think there's many other softwares out there focused on that, are there?
So you'll have some websites that'll also help you do inventory management. You'll have some newsletter providers that will also help you do, some contact management. There's certainly websites that are great with e-commerce, like Shopify,
Yeah.
is one that is really
Now, I
gaining.
believe you integrate with Shopify,
We're
right?
talking
Kind
about it.
of.
When we one of the main things that came out of the pandemic was when we did surveys of our artists, and this is universal across. We have artists in over 130 different countries using the platform. One of those common elements was, I've lost my galleries, I've lost my art fairs, I've lost basically any physical presence that I
Yeah.
could go out, and all my outlets are
Yeah.
gone other than these digital avenues. So I can't decide between Shopify or WooCommerce or like all of it's kind
Yeah.
of analysis paralysis.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I've
and
been
and the
going through that.
Right. So I'm sure this is something you see with a bunch of your clients all the time. There's so many options, and then additionally, a lot of those options carry either cost, take commissions, or are pretty complex.
Or
So what
both.
we asked, yeah. So what we asked our users is, if we were going to do this, if we were going to simplify this for you, what are the things that were most important? And most were just like, give me the ability to transact digitally. So if I want to send an online invoice, or if I want someone to be able to click buy and sell my stuff online, make that as simple as possible. So we did build that this year, and it's actually an integration with PayPal. But my disclaimer is, it is very purposely not a full service e-commerce platform, meaning we're not forcing you to use this shipper. We're not forcing you to charge this commission or this structure. It is basically just a means of facilitating that digital transaction. So if you want to use, it's someone local but you still need to ship it and you have your own preferred local shipper, you can do that. If it's someone international and you have your international shipper you have full control. The other thing that it prevents you from doing is double selling work that's already in another show or in a competition or things like that. So we really opted for a very streamlined, no cost version of that
Mm-hmm.
versus something like a Shopify, which, by the way, if, in particular in the maker and craft space that I know you're super familiar with, I personally believe Shopify is one of the greatest e-commerce platforms of all time. If someone's doing mass market crafts or mass market prints or things like that, that really lend itself to that kind of transactional nature, I think it's great. If you're an artist doing one of a kind fine art, or even like Maggie before, when you were talking about her doing limited edition prints, my my personal opinion is, so I'm a collector. um, I don't mind having, like, I like an opportunity to establish a relationship with the artist. Like, I don't
Right.
need that instant gratification, buy now. um,
Ah, you
you know
like
I,
the back and forth about
because I
what's the
buy from
original.
artists, I don't necessarily buy art. Like, I'm not looking for a print from Target or something like
Right.
that. Like, if I'm buying something, I don't, it's very, very rare. In fact, in the last decade, I can't think of a single acquisition I've made that it was just, I love this work of art. It's more, I love the story of it, or it's either the story of the artwork or the story of the artist.
That's
Um,
so funny you say that because I hear that as a common thread. I've been doing all these interviews. The artist appeals is I liked how you said earlier that you are unabashedly about the business side of art. And the artist appeals is unabashedly about that in a way as well. I mean, we cover the creative end as well. When we talk to some of the creatives, we definitely always talk about what's your process if they're
but you also talk about helping them tell their story.
right, and that is one of the common threads for success that we see over and over again is this telling a story about the work or about yourself or about how you came to whatever it is a major selling point. A major selling point for almost every collector. It's amazing. Justin, you guys have something about a grant coming up. You mentioned that you do a whole compilation, a list of grants and
Of other
opportunities.
organizations, grants, and opportunities. Yeah,
But you have something special coming up as well.
we do. We did a survey of thousands and thousands of artists, particularly in the United States, for this survey, and found that over half had lost more than 50% of their business. So COVID has really had, an impact on everybody,
Yeah.
and creatives in particular. So one of the things we're going to do, and this is just as much for COVID as it is for just, we feel it's important to give back when we can. We will be doing our own grant coming up. It's going to open in March, and it's basically an art business accelerator grant. So, in addition to unrestricted funds, which is a big differentiator, this isn't to pay for a commission. This isn't to pay for a specific project. This is buy pencils, pay your rent, do
Is
whatever
this
you
free
need to
money?
do that helps you do more of what you're doing in your art career. These are unrestricted funds. So we will be giving $21,000 individual financial grants. And
Wow.
another major differentiator to this grant is that every single person that applies, and we're going to make this, there's no application fee or anything like that. We're going to make the application process as kind of frictionless as possible. Every single participant, anybody who applies, will also receive this resource kit and education system we're building that focuses on the business of art and arming you with the tools you need to succeed. So that's a big differentiator because any participant will benefit from this.
Very cool. So you get this free, is it going to be like a PDF, like a download
We're
or?
actually going to make a guide. We'll have some webinars associated with it that people can
Oh,
attend for free from an educational standpoint.
wow, free
And really,
webinars and a free guide just for applying to get free money.
right, yeah. So,
I
I mean,
love
we've got a
it.
decades, I mean, in addition to every individual that's with our organization's experience, we have a decade's worth of experience talking to artists, learning from artists, talking to
Mhm.
art professionals, and we're really trying to consolidate that in a resource guide that will help focus on a lot of the business basics, but also stuff that are applicable mid to late career as well.
Oh, that is really cool. So that's March 1st, your grant
The
application
the
process
doors open March
opens?
1st, and we should have some more information on it coming up here in the next few weeks.
So show us a little bit about how artwork archives works because we've been talking about it a lot, but I think most of our audience are visual people. Maybe you can show us a little bit about what it does so they can see it.
So you'd like me to share the screen?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great if you don't mind.
All right. Tell me if you can see the screen.
I can see the screen. I see some abstract um cubistic work on the
Yeah.
left.
So this is just kind of a general. This is kind of the main piece of screen. I happen to be in list view. Many artists are more visually oriented, so they like to see
Mhm.
their work laid out in a gallery view.
Okay. So you
I
can
like
switch
list view.
views. I like that.
Yeah, and this is all internal. I'll get to some of the external facing features, but the reason I like the list view is it lets me see a little bit more information about each
Okay.
work. And another thing is sometimes you're going to have clients that specifically are looking for a particular thing. So let's say you have a client that has a specific price range or a specific size range, or you work in a bunch, you're a multidisciplinary artist and you have both paintings and sculptures or watercolors and oil, you can constantly be narrowing things down to get exactly what you're looking for when you're
Mm-hmm.
building reports, when you're choosing to integrate with your website, when you're doing presentations or private rooms.
Mm.
So, in addition to tracking um, where the work is, what exhibitions that work has been in. Maybe it was in a publication. So your more established artists are going to have some of this provenance related information. But newer artists, they may just want to capture the basics like what is the price, what is the medium. Um, you know, th- this not only enables you to capture all of the information about it, but in the event you do make a sale, for example, everything in our database is relational. So if I clicked on Kevin, it's going to show me what Kevin has bought before. So if I click on this, I have his contact information, what he's bought before, when he bought it, what my net was. I can do, and I know I'm kind of, you know, doing this very quickly.
That's
Um,
okay. It's
but
fascinating
I
to
didn't want to
see.
make this any kind of pitch about the product. I wanted to make it more, general
Yeah,
conversation
but
that
our audience is so visual. It's nice to see it.
no, that
So,
I totally get it. So and so this in addition to doing the basic things that you would hope any inventory management system would do, so storing all the details about your artwork, managing all the locations you work with so you can see, okay, what do I have out on Saatchi? What do I have at such and such gallery? What do I have at this coffee shop down the street? So it's got full
mhm.
location management. It also has full contact management that you could see the nonprofits that you work with, grants you've applied for, clients that have purchased from you, and all the details that have to do with that. You can also build income reports, meaning I can see every single thing I've donated, gifted, sold. Maybe I'm an artist that does rentals or loans. You can track all that stuff in the system as well. One thing,
Interesting.
one thing I skipped over. So many artists. There's two parts to this exhibition thing. Not only is it really important to track exhibitions that you've participated in for your own career, evolution, but also for me as a buyer, if I've got two identical works and one has an entire history where I can see what exhibitions it's participated in or an award won or
Mhm.
something like that, but this one has nothing, the, the one with the history is going to tell a more complete story and it's going to be more interesting to me. So this not only helps that, but it also helps you track all the critical dates. So
Mm.
I don't always have the greatest knack for remembering my submission deadlines or when I'm supposed
Mm.
to pick something up after I've submitted. So it's nice that this will automatically send me an email and it will create a schedule for me if I have items on my schedule, and this is happens to be an empty one, that will let me know when I'm supposed to follow up with such and such client. So let's just say, for example, and I think contact management and growing your collector base is one of the most underutilized skills as an artist. When most of your sales are
Yeah.
going to come from that network, so continuing to
Yeah.
build upon that's really important. So if I see, okay, Madeline has purchased from me before, and I know I've got a collection I'm working on that she may be interested in, I could say, reach out to her about your new collection. And it's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to log that I've had that conversation or I should have that conversation with her. Two, it's going
Mhm.
to create this on my calendar and I can sync this with my phone or my email. And it's going to send me an email that week saying, hey, don't forget to reach out to Madeline about that. And you
Oh,
can use that for
brilliant.
following up with galleries or grants or anything you're involved with.
Now, I'm curious about the images that go in there.
Sure.
So, I use Lightroom a lot because I'm both a
Great program.
photographer
Yeah.
and a fine artist. And I recently photographed a very large body of work I did. So, for example, I did 3 years worth of ENSO, so 900 plus circle
Wow.
paintings. And I photographed each one of them, and you have the digital file name from the camera, right?
Sure.
and then you import it into Lightroom and you make adjustments. Now, since it's a non-destructive editor, it doesn't change the file name.
Right.
But when I send it to my agent, I have to do some things to it. I might have to, I don't know, spot color correct it, spot correct it, and then I've got to enlarge it to a much, much bigger size so that he can put it in his um, catalog,
Totally.
and I've got to follow his naming conventions. So when you enter the information about your artwork, can you indicate file names of, say, the original photograph, the enlarged image,
Totally.
smaller image? How does that work?
So, so I'm going to directly answer that in a second, but
Cool.
as a precursor to that, when you enter a photo into Artwork Archive, an image, you can do up to 10 images per work. So let's say you're a sculptor and you want to have a front view, a side view, under, your thumbprint, whatever you're doing. You can have up to 10 supporting images from it. Maybe you're a painter and you want to have some of the making of leading up to the work.
Oh, cool. Yeah, process photos.
Yeah, so you can have that. And what we do is we recommend uploading a high resolution version for a couple reasons. One, because if we share that on the web, we will downsize it automatically for you to prevent
Oh.
copy and theft, so it doesn't show that full high res version on the web. If you
Mhm.
use it in a report that only requires a thumbnail, we will auto size it for that. If you use it in a report that requires a high resolution image to be included for best print quality, it will optimize for that. So it does all that for you dynamically. In the
Can you
particular,
watermark your images as well if say you're sending a
you
client a high
can, but
res
we
one?
really recommend against it.
Okay.
But we really recommend against it because watermarking, and I'm going to take Artwork Archive hat off and put just Justin the art buyer on.
Right, right.
To me, it
I
I
know.
think it
I don't
hinders the
recommend it
viewing
either.
process. And
Yes.
we
Yes.
disable right click. We make it a low res version that you still can see a well represented work when, if you're sharing it with a client online, but not so much that they could reproduce it in print format. So
Excellent.
we go to great lengths to prevent that. But to your question before about the versioning, we have an additional feature called additional files. So
Mhm.
let's say it was not only important for you to have, these general images, but you wanted specifically to be able to name and store images that you can share later that were the for the gallery, for exhibition submission, whatever the purpose is. And you can even name them whatever you want. So you can say, this is my 1020 by whatever. However you choose to name these, you can name them, you can add a note, and then you can store them. And what happens when you do that is every single file that's stored in our system has a little triangle next to it, and you can view it, download it, edit, or you can share, and this will go to any of your contacts,
Oh,
or I
cool.
can put emails here. So you can get it in the hands of the people you want easily.
Oh, that's great. What a neat feature. So that's really cool. So your artwork archive software is an inventory system for helping artists get organized. So not only is it, software, which was art, but it's a product. Um, Presentation wise, does it live only on the internet? Like, is this cloud-based software?
It
Do
is
you
it is cloud-based, and that's very intentional. So one of the things we wanted to do when we set out to answer kind of John's mom's needs was to prevent the chance of her ever losing something.
Mm,
The other big bit of feedback we got from artists we were working with is, I'm not always in the studio. Like, I could be on site, I could be looking for color inspiration or something like that. So I
mhm,
want to be able to access things on whatever device I happen to be on at the time. So it gives that additional accessibility.
mhm.
We also work with a number of financial institutions and medical institutions on the collector side and have enterprise level security, and in 10 years have never lost a single byte of data or had a single security breach. So it was common, I think, early on to have some reservations about the cloud, but I think at this stage, if a company is doing right by their client base, it is exponentially safer than having something reside on your own computer, unless your own computer is not hooked up to the internet at all.
Right.
But this isn't something that's vulnerable to, the same kind of viruses or anything like that. We have fully redundant backups to ensure that you never have to worry about losing your data.
Hmm.
The other thing is, we as a company are constantly evolving the product. And with
Yeah.
a download only version, if you always had to download something, like for us, so yesterday we added a new feature. The next time you log in, it's seamlessly available to you without having to do anything.
Great.
And so
Great.
that makes the delivery of it easily. But you asked the digital versus manual. While we do have countless ways to share digitally, we also do have a significant amount of reports that can be printed out. So let's say it's COVID times, you happen to be doing your own private show at your house and you wanted to do a tear sheet. You can very quickly generate professional looking tear sheets that you can customize with your logo or letterhead, that saves you time not having to kind of patchwork this together with Photoshop or Word or a number of other applications. And these can be
Fantastic.
printed and can be accessible offline as well.
So
And
you can
that's
print right from Artwork Archive.
exactly. And
So you
all
can
of the,
make a tear sheet, which is essentially like a sales list, right?
yeah.
It's like a thumbnail and the price. Um, and then you said you can present and create websites. Oh, that looks nice. What feature is
Well, so
that?
this is a portfolio page. So let's say I just
Okay.
wanted to share, the information about a particular individual work. I
Uh-huh.
can create this and share that. I can have it branded with my logo and my information here. And I can either print that off for a client, or like every file on Artwork Archive, you can view, download, copy, or share it.
So could you make say a portfolio of 12 or 20 pieces and export it as a PDF or something?
You could do that. There's a number of different reports that are for multiple works. You can generate certificates of authenticity, consignment reports, any of those things that you would do that usually uses, a couple different pieces of software. We've simplified so you can output an elegant looking version of it. Additionally, in a case like you're talking about, the most popular thing that we've added during COVID is this private room feature. So say I had a client or a series of clients that were interested in new works I'm working on. I can put a description, I can choose which information I want to share, and then I can select which works I want. And let's say I just want this for my geometric series. I can add the works, and let me publish this. And I can password protect this too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And then when I do this, I'm just going to go back to an existing room. It creates basically a dynamic, viewable web page that I can privately share with an individual or group of individuals. And then they can click in here, see the details about that particular work. They can inquire about it. They can purchase it if they wish. So it's a really easy to get those works digitally in front of them so that they can actually interact with them. Whereas all of the reports, although you can share those reports digitally, each of these reports is ultimately generating a static PDF. So not something that they can kind of click into or enlarge or look at the different views of.
That's interesting. So the reports are kind of like meant for being printed or sent out as a PDF, but these new things that you've made, what are you calling them? You're calling them
Well, the
galleries,
private room, the
private rooms.
private room.
You just send them a link?
Yeah, you just send them a link, and we
Fantastic.
do have tons of people using reports to view digitally. They're
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're working with galleries or people that are interested in multiple works. In
Mm-hmm.
those cases, we very commonly see them use the inventory report, where you can just have a thumbnail and then whatever prints are available or whatever originals are available, and then the details you've chosen to include with those.
Fantastic. Can you make those thumbnails bigger?
In that particular case, it's fixed, all the
Okay.
thumbnails. And this is what you'll see as kind of a common theme in what we do is we are much more apt to err on the kind of clean, like
Mhm.
Elegant, professional versus customizable, which,
Yeah.
if you're someone that really has your own specific font size and font color and things like that, we're not always a great fit for that particular report.
Right. I'm not sure that, I think the functionality that you're providing is really in the sorting and organizing and tracking and archiving. It's funny. Maggie was talking about her system and she was saying that she had gotten a new computer and it had a array in it, that it's got four hard drives, which is,
Mhm.
multiple backups,
Of
but that
course.
she still keeps an external drive, an external hard drive, and she takes it to her mother's.
No, I
And
don't.
when she goes to visit her mother, she takes another hard drive. So she puts all of her
And
stuff on the hard
switches it
drive
out.
and switches it out and brings the old one home and updates the old one.
Well, she is. You said she's not tech savvy, but that to or not. I know she's tech savvy because she works
She's
in
tech
Photoshop,
savvy.
but
She's
like
totally tech
she's a little
savvy.
bit old school on that stuff. But that to me is as bright as anything. So we are cloud based, but at any time we don't want people using the system because they feel their data is held hostage. We provide a way for someone to back up all of their data, including the links to the digital original images, at
Mhm.
any time with the click of a button. You want to go to another system, you can cancel that same day, get a prorated refund, and have all your data exported. You want to have the peace of mind of taking that hard drive to your mother's house, go ahead and back it up on that hard drive and take it over there. We do our due diligence in making sure you'll never need that hard drive, but
Right.
some people just like that additional peace of mind.
Yeah, we called it the mother system. We were joking around that it was
Oh,
her mother
that's funny.
system, because I have heard, like, John Paul Caponegro was on the podcast, or is coming up on the podcast, and he saves a hard drive, or used to save a hard drive. I don't know what he does now, in a safety security box.
Wow. Wow, wow,
So
wow.
yeah. So tell me, can you upload a whole ton of work at once? So getting into kind of educating and amplifying. Can you upload 15, 20, 100 images all at once and carry metadata in? Or do you have to do them individually?
We don't carry the metadata, and yes, you can drop bulk images in the system, and we also have an import service that we provide, one of the tiers of the platform for free, in which those people that are coming from those old school systems can easily just copy and paste into our template, and we can import that work into the system. And we do that, I don't know how many times a day, but
Oh,
we
nice.
constantly have people coming from other systems that need their
Uh-huh.
data migrated to the system,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that we provide as a value added service. Just because it can, if you've got years and years of work, it can be really daunting to get that into the system. But
Yeah.
when someone's starting from scratch, we do recommend kind of doing it one at a time so you get the knack of it. And it's really easy to get work in the system. All you need, the only field that's really required is the title, and you can choose to just drag and drop your images in. You can choose to add the medium, the subject matter, the creation date, or not. You can choose to add the signature information and all this other, or not. All of that's there for your benefit. The more you add to it, the more robust it becomes, because when you
Mm-hmm.
get into features like insights, where you really want to take kind of a
Ooh,
data
look at
driven view of your
this.
career, yeah, so you can see your makeup of originals versus prints. Let's say you work with a number of different galleries and you want to see how that work is distributed over them. You can see the value of the work you have at those different galleries. You
Mm-hmm.
can track your production of work versus your sales over time. So this is
Mm.
really good. We have a number of artists that have kind of, you know, um, I guess, grown the nerdier side of themselves, that really find this beneficial. Because if you're seeing, hey, this one gallery is just not producing for me at all, but this one is, responsible for the lion's share of my sales, I should be working more closely with that gallery. It helps you
Right.
see things you might not normally see. And this My Docs feature, right now it's grant season, like tons of, we just released our call for entry guide, which has just this really wide array of grants and opportunities, around the world for
Oh,
artists. And
is
this
that
is
like a
something that gets,
newsletter or an email, or
no, so
what is that?
we, in addition to this platform, we also have a blog which was read by millions and millions of artists, collectors, designers, architects, and art professionals around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is at artworkarchive.com/blog.
Okay.
And then each year we're kind of known for posting our calls and like our grants and opportunities guide.
Okay.
So
So you make
we
like a
just,
compilation.
yes. So we basically have a lot of grants, some of them that were brought to us, some of them that we're bringing to people. Um, and there's just a lot of great opportunities there. And this is another thing that came from our user request saying, man, it is so hard to keep track of like this version of the bio or this version of the statement or my CV or any
Yeah.
of these other things. And so this way you have it all under one roof and you can very easily share any of them with those, you
Fantastic.
know, documents. So anything we can do to save time, that's definitely what we're driven to do.
Very cool. Well, you look like you are the solution to amplification. Now, can you post to social media
You
from
can,
Artwork
you can.
Archive?
And so we have an
Really?
entire, so everything I've said, well, obviously not to Instagram because
Yeah, they
that's
don't
still
allow you.
something,
I don't
right?
think they don't let anybody post from a third party
They've
app, do they?
threatened that they may, I say threatened, it would be so wonderful if they did. They are they're considering this year doing some partnership posting. If you're, I don't know what it's going to look like, but if that happens, that's going to be great because it would save so many people so much time. And then apps that help you manage your various social accounts could also, you know, be tremendously improved.
Right.
Everything I've showed you so far has been mostly internal facing. When it
Hmm.
comes to the external side of things, we have this feature called My Profile that
Okay.
I would say 90% of our users have their own websites, and we, of course, encourage that.
Hmm.
This is a way for you to create an additional kind of complementary web presence for yourself where you can build another about page. You can link to all your social platforms that you're on, as
Hmm.
well as your own website. And this enables people, because we basically have an entire another side of the company that are these interior designers, art professionals, curators, archivists, people that use our discovery platform to find art. So
Hmm.
anybody that has a public profile on Artwork Archive is also on the discovery platform. So the discovery platform is an international database of artists that have chosen to turn on their public profiles that is free and open to the public to come find and discover those artists.
Oh,
And so let's
wow.
say
I
I'm
didn't know you
opening
had
a
that.
restaurant in Denver and I wanted to buy some art from, you know, local Denver artists.
Hmm.
This enables me to browse anybody that's in that radius of Denver.
Oh, very neat. I didn't know you were offering that. I was looking at Saatchi the other day. I was
Yeah,
doing my due diligence and doing a lot of research into Etsy and into Shopify and into integrations with the
sure.
different, like Guten and the product print on demand things.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking at you and this and that and the other thing. Um, and there are curated websites. So Saatchi is kind of I don't know if I'm saying that right, am I?
Saatchi, but that, I mean,
Saatchi.
that's it's actually Saatchi, but it's one of the many kind of catch-all online galleries that, you know, any artist can sign up for and put their work up there.
Yeah, it's a marketplace. So you
Yep.
actually have also created an artwork marketplace.
You know, I hesitate to use the word marketplace because Saatchi's sole existence is based on selling art, and
Yeah.
I would say there's a very significant percentage of our artists that simply do this for additional exposure and not necessarily to drive sales. They
Mhm.
also use the public profile feature because they don't want to do double entry in maintaining the gallery on their website as well. So our public profile you can embed on your WordPress, Squarespace, Weebly, Wix, whatever site you have. You can
Mhm.
embed either your entire portfolio or specific collections that you curate
Uh-huh.
on your own web page. So you just avoid having to enter it in both places and keep up, you know, a database or a central repository and a website.
Oh, that's great. So how does that work? You just copy and paste the code?
Exactly. So if you look at this integrations tab, this basically is just the code snippet it's like embedding a YouTube video on your own website.
Got it.
Basically
Yeah.
you're cut. And if I do, okay, you know what? I don't want this whole thing. I just want the geometric series. You see, it changes that to this, and that's what it would appear. So let's say, you have artistappeals.com/geometric.
Mm-hmm.
You can embed that on your own geometric page on your own website, so it's seamless. And if you were selling works, and let's say I go in here and I say, okay, this work, the sale fell through, so I'm going to, like, let's say I wanted to delete this sale, for example, this would reappear on my website as something that came up as available now. And I wouldn't have to do anything on the website. It's all very dynamic.
Very cool. Now, it automatically takes off work that have been sold. What if you want to
You can
display the
leave
work
your
that
work
has been
on,
sold?
that's actually a setting. So if
Okay.
you want to show, you can say, you can show or hide sold work.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose whether you want to share your prices or not. You have a number of options for how what works you share, what information you choose to share, etc.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. It looks like you've covered everything.
I don't know about everything, but that's that's we try to make it as comprehensive as possible. I think one of the biggest challenges facing artists is just the sheer volume of tools and options out there, and all you want to do is be in the studio creating and not spending time behind the computer.
Yeah.
So as I said, anything we can do to kind of streamline that and save you time, it's definitely something
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
like to focus on.
Well, we've come to licensing and contracts, and I think you've already covered this, but we talk about licensing and contracts, and licensing is the idea, right? Where you can take a work and you can essentially rent it to
Yeah.
put on other products, be it pillows or bed sheets or mugs or printed as wall murals or
Or
whatever.
subscription art frame services that are becoming popular.
What?
So
Subscription art frame
yeah,
services? I don't know this one.
this licensing thing is something we follow really closely. The one of these emerging things that I've seen over the last few years is art as a subscription. So we are all, as humans in this modern day world, conditioned to pay for the Netflix and having our TV on demand, and
Yeah,
Spotify and having our music on demand.
right.
And there are a number of companies emerging that are doing art on demand, in which case you are able to choose, if I have one of these frames and I pay for the subscription service, there are thousands upon thousands of artists I can choose from in the subscription service. And so for the artists, let me say as a disclaimer, I don't love any of the options right now. So I'm not advocating for this at all. I'm just saying it is a very interesting new trend in the licensing
Yeah.
space, because not only do artists receive that kind of small commission, but the viewers of that frame also have the opportunity to buy originals. And it's a great additional source of exposure, or it can be a good additional source of exposure for those artists. We saw this cropping up
So
about
wait,
5 years ago in bars, where as a bar or restaurant,
yeah.
you can buy a picture frame that is essentially a glorified TV with a frame around it
Okay.
that has an internet connection to it and just cycles through various artwork.
I'm not sure whether to call that brilliant or fascinating. I mean, okay, so we've seen these digital frames at, the smaller ones, like the eight and a
Sure.
half by, where
Your kids'
you,
photos, your
yeah.
grandparents'
So
art.
they're doing this with original art. Now, when they do this, is the artist's name and the title and the
It is.
information associated
Most
with
of the
the,
services I've seen either on hover over, like if you touch it, or they either have it where you can show that information in the bottom right hand corner,
yeah.
or you click on it and it brings up that information floating on the artwork.
Interesting. So these companies are licensing the artwork from, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
And so this is
licensing is
just
normally a
a
small
newer trend we've
royalty
seen.
of sales. So that's a really interesting format.
Yeah, I talked with, I'm not going to mention the names of any of the companies, but I've talked to the
Okay.
founders of a few of the people in that space. And I think my personal challenge is whenever I hear the words, it's going to be great exposure for you, every sense in my body tingles in a very negative way.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate that. I have watched artists
Justin, do
for
you want to turn off screen share now?
sure.
Are we done with that?
Yeah, sure.
Cool, cool. Yeah, yeah, your spidey sense gets up totally.
Not
I
even my spidey, whatever the most dreaded sense I have, because it's something that's been so long used to exploit artists. And hey, this is going to be great exposure. And to be honest, there are cases. I know the other side of this argument. The other side of the argument is the artist has a choice. The artist can say no. And I can tell you, just from running mural festivals or from being involved in mural festivals for a long time, that there is no question there are certain situations where that is true, that
Mhm.
you can get further commission, future commissions,
Mhm.
future studio work from being discovered in kind of a street art setting or something like that. But most of the time, if someone is saying that, it's I don't want to pay for whatever I'm seeing. So when I was talking with these founders, it did make me a little nervous about what is the artist really getting out of it. Because think of how many musicians you hear about never getting what they want from Apple Music or Spotify or things like this.
Mhm.
But again, if I'm an artist and I have a print that is not a limited edition, that is already out there in the ether, what is the downside in putting that out there, that someone could, like, it could catch someone's eye and they could be,
Yeah.
a buyer of my work in the future?
Yeah.
And if there's a small royalty to come with that, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. I mention it because it's an emerging thing that we've just started spotting in the last year and a
Mhm.
half.
Yeah.
Um, and licensing is just a fascinating category, because it's, I mean, I'm sure you are much more well versed in this given your background, but like the legal, just the contracts involved and just protecting yourself and the rights to your asset are,
It can be very tricky. I mean, I have an attorney that helps me with it,
well, that's
and
great.
well, yeah, she's a godsend. But I never knew about licensing, and I went to 7 years of college for art, and it is a fascinating field, and it is a very valid form of creating long-term revenue. It's not fast, it's not quick, it's not massive, but it is another avenue, and it can create exposure, as we're talking about, especially if you can get your name on the product and somebody sees, oh, I've got a calendar of, look at Mary Engelbright. She's one of the most licensed artists out there. She's
Hmm.
got products everywhere, or Paul Brent. Some of these people make huge livings at it, very good livings at it. So, but
And you
yeah,
wouldn't look down upon, and this is a conversation I have all the time when people talk about getting into prints or getting into licensing or things like
right,
that.
right.
You're if you are a career artist, whether you like it or not, you're an entrepreneur. You're a small
Hmm.
business person. And if you are looking to make a living doing what you love, part of that requires income. And
Gotta pay the
licensing, and I,
bills.
I think you make such a good point when you say that it can be this additional source of income. And what you wouldn't look down upon a photographer, a fine art photographer, for also shooting weddings to pay the bills.
Hmm.
There's just certain things you do
Yeah.
that, hey, if you're a great photographer and you're doing a lot of, let's say you do a lot of, portraiture or something like that, and you're great with people already, why not add that as a, like, I understand that. And I know so many artists that, you know worry about what it's going to do to their reputation, or what, and I do think you have to weigh that and make individual decisions as an artist. But man, I'm glad you're talking about it, and I'm glad people are learning about it, because it's just one door.
Yeah, unabashedly, I am researching, talking about, because I was in academia for a long time. I went to 7 years of art school and then I taught for 12 years. And while I did that, I actually did start a photography business and I did do a branding and I did shoot weddings and babies
Hmm.
and design business cards and websites and I did all that because I wanted to be able to talk to the students about what you really have to do to make a living and what it's like working with clients and give them that professional experience. Um, I'll never forget, I worked with a client that was out of college. He was young, he was taking over his family's business. They were into commercial real estate, and I was building them a whole brand of materials, and he kept saying, "No, no, I want it more like this. I want it in a triangle with a circle and a circle and a circle connected by a triangle.
Hmm.
And then I want um green marble and I want gold." And I'm like, "Okay, first of all, you can't do gold on the internet.
Yeah.
Second of all, green marble and gold is gaudy.
Yeah.
Third, a triangle on your homepage?" Like, so, after we went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and he finally was getting grumpy with me, I finally wrote him a very polite thing that said, "Here's what I would do. Here's exactly what you want. This is what you've asked me for, but here's what I would do, and here's why I would do it." And I compared and contrasted. And he wrote back and he was like, "Yeah, you're right. Yours looks so much better. Mine looks like out of college." But that was only after going back and forth with him about
Sure.
23 times. And so I showed the students that progression. And you really do. You have to work hard with clients. You have to tell them stories and explain and communicate. So, yeah,
And if you're
licensing and
someone who's
contract.
fortunate enough to be able to to be creating things that you love to create
Mhm.
that are being sold, I mean that's the ultimate aspiration, right? Like I don't
Yeah,
want to have to hustle to do these things that are a means to an end.
right.
I want to be able to do the thing that I care most about, that I want to put into the world. And in all honesty, as I think of just creative process evolving in general, I would love to have the luxury, most artists we talk with would love to have the luxury of being able to create things for creation's sake and not have to worry about that sale tied to it, which is, once you kind of find the better you do at establishing your market, building your collector base, and
Mhm.
and having that kind of steady source of income, the more freedom you have to evolve, to experiment, to advance your craft, etc., because you've got, you're not living paycheck to paycheck. You're
Yeah,
not
you
living
kind of have a
last sale to
safety
last sale.
network.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you really help people connect keep in touch with their collectors, huh?
That's
I love it.
that's I love anything old school. Yes, there are some modern day tools, and there's been some wonderful evolutions in social media. But I think it can be more noise than benefit. So when Twitter, Facebook had first come out and Tumblr was around, there was like five or six things, and where did you spend your time? And everyone needed to have a blog, and now
It's
everyone
still
needs to
that
have,
way.
right. And it's only gotten worse.
It's
And
overwhelm.
so, what are the things that work best for you, make sense for you to do, that are performing for you? Double down on those. Try not to spread yourself too thin, because you're not going to be successful at any of them.
Mhm.
Choose the ones that make sense. But in that whole sea of options, don't forget that the things that make people the most successful are typically the old school, tried and true techniques, like contact management, like building a collector base,
Mhm.
following up with it. When I get an email from an artist that says, "Hey, um, I know you're already familiar with my work. I've got a new series that comes out, or that's coming out, I think you're interested in." So 5 minutes before I got on this call, I looked at email really quick. I got an email from an artist that I haven't heard from in years that said, "Hey, I've been experimenting with this
Mhm.
printmaking process. Check it out." I mean, I'm shortening this,
Paraphrasing.
but
Yeah.
I was like, "This is awesome!" Like, and I opened it because I recognized the name. So they're making an effort to keep in touch. And even though it had been a while, they reached back out, and I'm hooked. I want to know more about it.
Cool.
So it's just simple things like that, with just keeping in contact. And by the way, you've bought from me before. Do any of your friends, also buy art? Are they interested in these types? I mean, not being afraid to ask questions like that helps.
That's good advice. Thank you. I feel like you're talking right to me. Wait, you are. We're on a Zoom. But no, I definitely understand because I have been seeking some of those answers for a long time. And how do you automate this process? How do you systematize it? Because it is such overwhelm. I was feeling overwhelmed just the other day, like, oh my God, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I really need to build a new website, I need to update this, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, how do you get it all done?
Well, I think you are obviously not alone in that. People face that all the time. I think it's really important to throw those needs down on a piece of paper and stack rank them. What are the things that are going to have the most impact? What do I perceive is going to have the most impact on my career? So if you have an existing website, it's different than if you don't have a website and desperately need web presence. So if you have an
Mhm.
existing website, it's how bad is my old website?
Hello.
Hi, Zoom Bomber.
Hi, Zoom bomber. Step back. This is my little guy. Say hi.
Hi, how are you?
Mama's on a Zoom. See you, buddy.
Listen,
That was Jay.
I have a 2 year old that is usually just streaking by, so I can totally relate.
Right, half naked, chasing
Yeah,
the cat with a fork or
yes.
something random.
Yeah, but if you, in the situations where you're facing basically a prioritization exercise, throwing on paper what you think is going to make the most impact, stack ranking it, and then scheduling it out. So on the newsletter thing, I'm not saying every artist needs a newsletter. It could be as simple as sending an email. This person didn't use a newsletter. I can tell it was a totally just sent from her regular email client, which is
Yeah.
totally fine with me. She BCC'd people, so I didn't see this huge stack of name like other
Yeah,
collectors. So
yeah.
that's good because I want my privacy maintained. But if you think that that's important, put yourself a calendar reminder that says do that once a quarter or once a month or whatever the cadence that's right for you. Because if you break that stuff up, it doesn't seem as daunting. If you're if you've decided I'm going to organize and manage my work and get my arms around my career, and it doesn't matter whether you're using Artwork Archive or any other system, get the new stuff in first so you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to get 30
Oh, that's a
years of
great
work on this.
advice. The new stuff
Start with the new
first.
stuff. The information's fresh in your mind. It's likely the stuff that you're marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be more effective way of getting use out of the product right away.
I have this make money matrix that I do. It's kind of like what you're talking
Hmm.
about. I take a piece of paper and I fold it in half down the middle, and then I fold it in half horizontally, right? And if you write across the top, makes money, doesn't make money.
Right?
And then you write down the side, have resources, don't have resources.
Interesting.
So you put your big overall projects into these categories of, yeah, this I think could make me some money, and I have the resources to do it right now. Or this isn't
Hmm.
going to make me any money, but I do have the resources. And then, the next category would be makes money but don't have resources. So that's kind of the category like you're buying supplies or your
Sure.
upcoming projects or you're learning new skills. And then you try and live in those first two quadrants. You try and focus on the
Hmm.
projects that are in those two quadrants and knock out the ones that you have the resources to do and you can make money with, and then migrate the ones where you don't have those resources quite yet, up to that next category. So it's kind of
Oh,
a quadrant
interesting.
system. Yeah, I have it all videoed and written up. I want to put it out there for people.
We'll get that
That's
out in the
one of my
world.
big goals for
All
this
right.
month. So well, cool. So finally, success. We've been talking about success really, but let's classify it. How do you measure success and how do you celebrate it? Because I know as artists, we tend to jump from one project to the next and we
No
never
doubt.
stop, to just say, oh, wow, I did something good. Oh, wow, I had some success. I sold a piece. I think we just go, 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 go. Now you're more on the programming end and the business end, but same thing applies.
Yeah, so to speak to the latter about celebration of we're we're bad in that, like every new milestone and this has been much more difficult with COVID because at least when we're face to face in an office together, we can toast, we can go out for a celebratory dinner, things like that.
Right.
Those have kind of been robbed from us. So all of our normal mechanisms of celebrating have been taken away.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just harder, you know, it's made that harder. We're also pretty bad at it because every single
At
person in the
least you admit
company,
it.
yeah, every single person in the company, including John and I, are responsible for doing at least a half hour of customer service a day, which
Oh.
means that all of us have our finger on the pulse of what the customers are looking for, which is great, but it also means that we're always conscious of what we could be doing better. So
Mm.
all of us love the idea of making the customer happy. So it's very hard to stop and smell the roses when you know that if we could just do this new thing, but like, user X just mentioned this, and oh my gosh, would this not be great for our entire audience? So we're bad at celebrating, but how, as far as measuring success, for us, it's really simple. It's never been a fully monetary measurement system. We have had social good kind of, we have had the concept of doing well by doing good woven into our model from day one. Um, we always make sure that when we're measuring success, there's an equal dose of our impact on the community that we participate in and that we live in, the on the client side. And every one of our individual employees has their own kind of pet projects and things like that, but as a whole, we really try to stay true to our help artists make a living doing what they love. So when we're measuring success, it's an equal part financial, equal part basically trying to figure out how to quantify the qualitative stuff we get from our users, like I sold this much through your system, I was discovered, and all of these feel good stories. So we factor that in. It's a little harder when you're dealing with data like that to do so, but that's a big thing for us, making sure we always have that balance. And we have the good fortune of working with just a ton of nonprofits and arts organizations around the world that kind of fuel that feel good fire
Yeah.
too. um, but yeah, as long as we feel like we're providing really great product, really great customer service, and making it accessible, and that means easy to use, affordable, there's really nothing else like our product in the same price range, and it's very intentional.
Yeah.
Um, we love being able to do that, and we don't have any plans on changing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Justin. So,
Yeah,
thanks for watching all the way through to the end, you guys. And Justin has a special offer for you. For anybody that uses the special link, you're going to get a special deal. Justin, tell them what it is.
sure. So anybody who's watching this, you'll see a link down below that will give you a 20% discount off the first year of Artwork Archive. That
The
is
whole year, guys.
yes,
20%, 20 for a year. That's pretty sweet.
indeed.
Wait, is that reversed? 20?
That reads better. Yeah, I like that.
Very cool. Well, thank you. Don't forget to go and check out Artwork Archive. Hey, you guys have a free trial version too, don't
We
you?
do, we do. We want to make
So
sure people have time to explore whether it's the right tool for their practice.
very cool. So start a free trial. Go and use this link down below to get 20% off for an entire year and check it out, Artwork Archive. And if you need, you guys even have a concierge service where you'll upload stuff too, right?
Yeah, we do have an import service that comes if you're coming from another system, or if you already have things in a spreadsheet, that can be a real big time saver getting information into the system.
Fantastic. So three options. Try it for free, get 20% off for the full year, or have them do it for you. Easy peasy. I love it. Well, thank you. This is
All right,
exciting.
thanks.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. This has been another episode of The Artist Appeals.